Hi friends, this is the reMarkable Paper Pro Move. It's basically the smaller 7-inch sibling of the Paper Pro. If I had to sum it up quickly, I'd say it feels almost identical to the bigger model. The display, the stylus experience, the software, and even the overall look on the front all feel like the Paper Pro, just shrunk down a little. And that can be a good thing if you already love the original experience. But at the same time, because the screen is smaller and uses a different aspect ratio, a few challenges show up that I don't think reMarkable team really solved, and I will walk you through those throughout this video. As always, I'm going to cover the usual things: tech specs, build quality and design, writing and reading experience, battery, and overall performance. I will also compare it side by side with the Paper Pro so you can notice the differences for yourself. On top of that, I will answer one very important question as well: how well do your handwritten notes and book annotations scale when moving between the Move and the Paper Pro? Stick around until the end for that part of the video. In a nutshell, what we have here is a very minimalistic, premium looking paper tablet that's clearly designed to be a carry everywhere notepad. After spending some time with it, I'd say the Move is best suited as a portable device for quick note taking on the go. And honestly, the writing experience is incredible. It's probably my favorite in the whole e-ink world. The smaller Gallery 3 color display works exactly like the bigger Paper Pro, and it really feels close to writing on paper. Writing on it is smooth, responsive, and actually fun. When it comes to reading, things are a bit mixed. It does a decent job with EPUB files, although I did notice some margin issues that I will talk about later, but with PDFs the experience is just not good. In portrait mode, the screen ratio means you lose even more space, and most PDFs end up almost unreadable on such a small display. Switching to landscape helps a little, but then you run into problems. The zoom doesn't stay locked when you turn pages, and the zoom icon sticks at the top, covering part of the text. I guess that could be fixed in a software update, but as of now it's still frustrating. Performance-wise, I wasn't impressed either. After using newer devices like the Viwoods, Books, or AI Note 2 with their Carta 1300 displays, or even the Books Note Air 4C with a Kaleido panel, the Gallery 3 display on the Move just feels sluggish. Whether it's moving around the interface, loading fonts, or waiting for colors to refresh, there's always a bit of lag. And then there's the battery. For me, it lasts about 2 days with medium use, which is not great at all. I'll cover the details in the dedicated battery section later, but just so you know up front, it's a bit disappointing. Now, when you add up all these issues, and remember that I paid $600 or 629 euros for this setup with the premium stylus and leather cover, well, let's just say it doesn't feel like the best purchase. Remember, this is supposed to be the Apple of paper ink tablets, and with that reputation comes high expectations, and that's the standard I'm holding it to. So here's where I land. If you already have a Paper Pro, you love it, and you want something smaller and more portable, the Move makes sense. If you write a ton of notes and want a distraction-free digital device that's simple, reliable, and premium looking, it's definitely a solid choice. But if you're mainly after a portable reading device with some note-taking on the side, or if this would be your first e-ink tablet and you don't want to pay a premium price, I'd probably skip the Move and look at something totally different, maybe Books Go 7 Color Gen 2, Viwoods AiPaper Mini, or the Kobo Libra Color instead. The reMarkable Paper Pro Move feels really good in the hand. You can tell premium materials were used. There's a solid metal frame and a textured glass screen that gives it a quality feel right away. On the back there are 4 rubberized feet, so it sits firmly on a table. Those feet are also magnetized, which means the folio case snaps on perfectly. The ridge along the side adds a touch of elegance to the design. At the top you've got the power button. On the side there's a space for the pen, which attaches magnetically and charges wirelessly from the device itself. The magnet is very strong, so once the pen is attached, it's not going anywhere. At the bottom you have the USB-C port, although one small annoyance is that it doesn't have a charging indicator light. When you put the device together with the premium leather folio, it really does look stylish, smart, and portable. You can tell reMarkable knows how to make a good looking product. As for holding it, my hands are slightly above average in size and I can just about grip it comfortably in one hand. The metal edges can feel a bit slippery, but overall I never felt like it was going to slip away. In landscape mode, I actually found the wider chin at the bottom works nicely as a resting point for my thumb, giving me a solid hold. Now, there are two main differences between the Paper Pro and the Move. First, the Move has a plasticky bag that feels a bit like a cardboard, while the Paper Pro used anodized aluminum. This makes the Move look a little less premium, but it does help reduce the overall weight. Second, the Move doesn't have a pogo pins on the back, so you can't really connect a keyboard to it. I was really hoping they'd make a small keyboard folio for this device. It would have been a cool addition. And speaking of keyboards, there's also no Bluetooth support here, so that means you can't connect the Move to any external keyboard or accessory. Personally, that's a bit disappointing because I would have loved option to type directly onto the device with a keyboard. And before we move on, if this video is helpful to you, please hit that like button and subscribe to the channel. I appreciate your support. When it comes to the display, the reMarkable Move uses a 7.3-inch Gallery 3 color panel with a resolution of 1696 by 954, which gives you 264 pixels per inch. That's about 35 pixels per inch denser than the bigger Paper Pro. Can you notice this in the real life though? Technically yes, but it's very subtle. In day-to-day reading, the difference really isn't that noticeable. The Gallery 3 display can show up to 20,000 colors, and colors look very good here, though like with any ink technology they're not as vibrant as what you'd see on an LED screen. Still, they add an extra dimension to how you interact with the device, especially for highlighting, sketching or organizing notes. When you write or draw in color, you will notice a small refresh after you leave the pen. That's expected and completely normal. It doesn't happen when you're writing in black ink, only in color. The Move also comes with a front light, the same strength as on the Paper Pro. With the extra bright feature, you can even boost it brighter if you need to. One small detail to mention, the bigger Paper Pro has a slight yellowish tint to its screen, while the Move doesn't. Now, I've also done some reflectivity and contrast testing using a lux meter measuring tool. This isn't lab grade testing, but it's good for relative comparisons between devices. I ran multiple tests under the same conditions and the numbers were consistent, so I think they give a good picture. And here's what I found. The Move screen reflects about 74% of the light that regular white A4 paper does. That makes it around 26% dimmer than real paper. Whites appear a little softer and slightly grayish or muted, almost giving the display a magazine-like look rather than the crisp sharpness of a plain paper. I've also done a Michelson contrast and it comes in at about 29.7%, which translates to roughly 1.84 to 1 ratio. That's good, but it's lower than a 2.1 ratio you get on the best black and white ink screens like the Kindle Paperwhite or the Viwoods AiPaper. Compared to other color ink screens though, it performs quite well. It's brighter than Big Mi's Kaleido 3 panel and has better contrast too. Versus the larger Paper Pro, the Move is actually slightly brighter and has slightly higher contrast, which could be down to improved assembly or coatings. Of course, the trade-off here is that adding color means less brightness and sharpness compared to pure black and white ink. That's just the current nature of this technology. So overall, the Move is a strong performer for anyone who wants color ink, but if your main goal is the sharpest, most paper-like reading experience, then a high-end monochrome ink screens like the one in AI Note 2 or Viwoods AiPaper, which I've reviewed on this channel, would be a better choice. The reMarkable marker comes in two versions, the standard version and the Marker Plus. The Marker Plus is the premium option. It's black, has a slightly more textured finish, and it comes with a built-in eraser on the back. The standard version, on the other hand, has a smoother finish, but the same 60 mAh battery inside. The difference, about $50 or 50 euros more for the Plus version. So is it actually worth paying extra? Personally, I like to have the eraser on the other end, and the textured grip does feel a little nicer in the hand, but whether that upgrade is worth the extra cost really comes down to you and how much you value those kind of small changes. One thing to remember is that the pen charges wirelessly when it's attached to the side of the device. The good news is that the same marker works across both the Paper Pro and the Paper Pro Move. The downside is that they won't work with devices from other brands, so you're locked into reMarkable's ecosystem. The interface on the Paper Pro Move is very minimalistic and easy to learn. You can get comfortable with it in just few minutes. The main menu shows all your folders and files, and you can quickly filter by notebooks, PDFs or EPUBs. You can also favorite documents, add tags and use those tags later to filter or search through your content. There's also a newer feature called handwriting search, which lets you search through your handwritten notes. But as always, there's a catch. It only works if you pay for the Connect subscription. It's about $3 a month, and besides search, it gives you a couple of extra features like cloud storage and an extended warranty. The menus themselves are simple, clear and easy to understand. You won't find a bookstore here or apps, social media or email. That's all intentional. reMarkable wants this to be a distraction-free device, and in that sense, they nailed it. Coming from regular tablets and phones, it can feel almost too simplistic, but that's exactly their point. Overall, I'd give the Move's performance an okay score. Writing is smooth and responsive, and this is honestly the device's strongest point, especially with the gallery tree display. That said, you may notice some screen flickering when navigating menus. This is normal for gallery tree technology. It's not super distracting, but it's noticeable, especially compared to newer ink devices with faster refresh speeds. Loading book thumbnails can also be slow. If you have a large library, it can take a while to appear, though once it's loaded, things run pretty fine. Swiping through EPUBs is smooth, but changing font settings like size, type or margins is a much slower process. It takes a few seconds for the changes to apply, which feels a bit clunky. Unfortunately, this hasn't improved at all since the original Paper Pro. There are a few standout features on the Move that I want to highlight right now. First is handwriting to text conversion. The implementation here is really solid. It works especially well in English, and I like how the converted text is pasted onto a new page, so your original handwritten notes stay intact. One limitation though is that you can't convert multiple pages at once. You have to do them one at a time. Another great feature is integration with Google Drive, Dropbox and OneDrive. This makes it easy to move documents back and forth, and also to export notebooks or drawings to your laptop or phone. It's a very practical addition. Gestures are also another highlight. There are a lot of gestures that make navigation and editing faster. For example, tap once with 2 fingers to undo, 3 fingers to redo, and swipe down with 2 fingers from the top to open a recent and favorites drawer. After a little practice, these gestures make the device feel more intuitive and enjoyable to use. The reMarkable Paper Pro Move has a 2334 mAh battery. In my daily use, the battery drains pretty quickly. Probably too quickly, honestly. With a mix of writing and reading and minimal front light, I typically get about 2 days of use. I ran some tests to break it down more precisely. I tested writing in 2 scenarios, low impact and high impact. For low impact, I had the front light completely off and airplane mode on. In this case, the battery drained about 2% every 5.5 minutes of writing. And that works out to roughly 22% per hour. For high impact, with the front light at maximum, extra brightness enabled, and Wi-Fi on, the battery drained around 3% every 5.5 minutes, so about 33% per hour, and that's pretty intense. Honestly, these are the highest battery drains I've seen across all the ink devices I've tested on this channel. Unfortunately, with such a small battery, it's clear you won't get a week or more of use like you might expect from other ink products. All in all, the battery performance isn't great in my opinion. I understand the hardware limitations, but needing to charge this device every 2 days or maybe even daily with heavy use could be frustrating. Writing on the Paper Pro Move with the stylus feels really good. The sound of the tip against the glass is very close to writing on heavy paper, and it adds to the overall experience. Now let's talk about how notebooks scale between the Paper Pro and the Move. If you create a notebook on the Move and then open it on the Paper Pro, everything scales nicely. You will see some extra space and margins around the content, but it's nothing problematic. That's just due to the different aspect ratios. Going the other way is where it gets more interesting. If you create a notebook on the Paper Pro and then open it on the Move, the page will zoom out to fit the smaller screen. How much it zooms out depends on how far you write towards the edges of the Paper Pro. If you write more narrowly, it looks fine on the Move, but if you use the full width, the page can zoom out to around half size, 0.5x or 0.4x at maximum. In landscape mode, the content also scales down to fit the width, and that actually works really well. Overall, I think the implementation here is impressive. Given the difference in screen size and aspect ratio, I don't think reMarkable could have done this any better. Templates are also aligned perfectly between the two devices, so if you're writing on a grid on one device, it will line up the same way on the other, which is great and handy, and that's how it should be. That said, there are a couple of things that bother me and I want to mention it. When a notebook is zoomed in, the zoom icon doesn't disappear, it just sits there and covers part of the text. And that really shouldn't happen, it should vanish within a second, just like the page turn number does. Another issue is that if I zoom in on one page then swipe to the next, the zoom resets back to normal. I'd prefer it to stay at the same zoom level for all pages. And hey, these are small but annoying software issues that I hope reMarkable will fix in the future. Reading EPUBs on the move is generally good. The device is light and it's comfortable to hold in portrait or landscape mode. That said, I believe there's a bug with page margins. Some settings push the text past the screen, so only one margin option really works right now. The issue is quite frustrating and I'm hoping that reMarkable will fix this with an update. Changing fonts, margins or size is also quite slow. It takes a few seconds to apply changes, which feels clunky. And while you can highlight or draw on text, the move lacks features competitors offer, like a dictionary, split screen notes on highlights, or a reading time estimate. PDFs are also where I think Move struggles a lot. Because of the small screen and aspect ratio, research papers or dense PDFs just aren't comfortable to read. Putting it into landscape mode helps a bit, but zooming introduces two problems I've mentioned before. One is the zoom icon stays on the page and covers text, and the zoom resets every time you turn a page. If PDFs are central to your workflow, the move isn't really best option. Annotations though are handled well. On EPUBs, notes and highlights scale properly across both the Paper Pro and Move, and the extra side space on the Pro turns into hidden side margins on the Move, which you can open with a two-finger swipe. And that's actually a clever solution. On PDFs, annotations stay fixed in place and match perfectly between devices. One caveat to mention with EPUBs: if you change font size, you lose all annotations. reMarkable's official advice on this is to use PDFs for annotations, but then you give up text customization, so it's a bit of a trade-off. With all that said, I'm curious to hear what's your take on the Paper Pro Move. Let me know in the comments below. And if you own one already, what's your main use case for the Move? I'd love to hear your thoughts. And if you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like and subscribe, and if you'd like to support my work even further, you can buy me a coffee up here or become a channel member like all those awesome people right here. I truly appreciate your support, thank you so much. But it doesn't end here. If you're looking for a color ink device in a similar size that's better suited for reading, and has a more PDF friendly aspect ratio, better battery, and is less than half price of Paper Pro Move, check out my review of the Boox Go 7 Color Gen 2 right here. Or if you'd prefer something truly pocket sized, closer to a smartphone, take a look at my Boox Palma 2 review over here. As always, thanks for watching and I will see you in the next one. Bye!